Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. First up, I would like to approve the agenda. We have the agenda minutes, a public hearing this evening for milestones at Eagle Point, and some unfinished business, communications. And do we have a motion?
I move to,
Motion.
go ahead, make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
And a second?
Second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and so let's, all in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes. Next up is the approval of the minutes from January 27th, 2025.
I move to approve the minutes from January 27th, 2025.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so we have a public hearing this evening for the milestones at Eagle Point, conditional use permit, and we'll have a presentation from city staff first. One second.
Throw me a piece of paper. Yes, of course. I did write notes to myself.
Okay. Hello, Commissioners. Tonight we'll be discussing a CUP for MEP Lino Lakes LLC. A bit of background on the property. It's located at 8565 Eagle Point Circle. It's zoned business park, planned unit development, and it's guided for business park as well. Some of you may know this property as the former Rasmussen College, and the request tonight is to establish a daycare center through the conditional use process. Daycare centers are permitted conditionally in the business park zoning district. And just a note for everyone that CUPs are required for certain land uses to ensure that activities are compatible with the surrounding areas. So in this photo, you'll see the zoning districts of the area. The subject property is outlined in red. It's surrounded by the business park district to the north, east, and west, and to the south, you'll find Interstate 94. So this is a photo of the site when it was operating as the Rasmussen College. The applicant has expressed that no changes will be made to the building footprint. The alterations will mostly be limited to the interior of the space, with some very minor changes to detailing on the exterior, including signage. I will note that the signage will require a separate permitting process. So while the applicant is not proposing changes to the building footprint, they are proposing changes to the parking area by removing hardscape to the north and the south of the building. And they would like to replace that with pervious surface for playground areas on both sides. So this slide outlines standards that have been met. Height and setbacks are obviously met as the building remains the same. Impervious surface is reduced, so that is also met. And the parking is well over the required stalls for the area. It's staff's opinion that the extra parking on site should mitigate any queuing in case there's additional traffic, and it is off of Hudson Ave, which is a collector street. So moving on, just a reminder that CUPs are required to meet review criteria around general welfare of the public. I can quickly go through some of those with you here. The proposed use should not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, or welfare of the public. It should be consistent with the 2040 comp plan. It should be compatible with the existing neighborhood. It should meet development standards, shoreline management standards, and should be compatible in appearance with the existing character of the area. It should not be hazardous or create a nuisance, and it will be adequately served, or it will be adequately served by essential public facilities and services. It will not add additional public costs. The proposed use should not produce noise, smoke, fumes, glare, et cetera. It should not cause significant traffic congestion, and it will not cause an impact to scenic features. So we received standard comments from fire outlining parking, fire suppression, lock boxes, and fire alarms. We also received a memo requesting revisions to the landscaping plan and the tree preservation requirements. The applicant is working towards those requirements now, but they can be added as a condition before any building permits are released. And we received no further comments from the other agencies. So recommending conditions. The first would be that the applicant must obtain all necessary city, state, and other governing body permits and approvals before they get a building permit. This is a fairly standard condition. The next is substantial construction has not taken place within 12 months. Then the city's approval, within the city's approval, the conditional permit should become void. Any expansion or modification of the parking lot or playgrounds shall require a conditional use permit amendment, and this doesn't apply to typical maintenance. And finally, the applicant must address the landscape architect memo before the building permit, and the applicant is working towards this currently. So this went out, the public hearing notice went out to surrounding properties on March 10th, and a public hearing notice was published to the city's official newspaper on March 14th, and we have received no public comment at this time. So with that, I'll leave you with a motion, and also the applicant is here should you have any questions for him.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
And I think, my only question, and I think you might have answered it, is the potential for a queuing issue. So that's mitigated just by the sheer size of the parking lot, or
Yeah,
is
the
there
applicant,
a
yeah, sure.
plan of action for that? Sometimes that can be an issue. But
Yeah, the applicant is proposing over 30 additional spaces.
Okay.
We think that that should mitigate any queuing, just because the drop-off and pickup is a flexible time, so not everyone will be there at the same time.
Oh, sure, okay.
I've got a question. Go ahead. I agree with that, too. That is a kind of a question that I had, was on the traffic flow patterns dropping off. And I understand, it's a pre-existing condition in this building, and this is just going to be a different use for it. But I just wondered you had any idea of the students that were at Radisson originally? Because they're predicting like over 220 students.
Yeah, I looked that up. I'm not sure entirely how accurate it is, because I had a tough time finding it. But full-time students, from what I found, were 350, and then part-time students were 450 people.
Okay, all right. And the tree preservation that was presented, is there something in the conditions that said that they have to do that, or is that just a recommendation?
Yep, they should meet the requirements of the memo.
Okay, anyone else?
That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Are we going to hear from the applicant this evening?
Would you like to, or do you have any questions for him?
Any questions for the applicant?
I think I'm good.
Okay,
Well, it seemed pretty straightforward.
all right.
Thank you.
Then we have a motion on the table.
No, we have to open the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, let's, a motion to open the public hearing then.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Done.
I will second that.
Second by Boulay.
Give the time.
We'll take a vote on that then. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
The public hearing opened at what time?
Okay, and we're opening the public hearing at 6:39. We have a motion on the table.
No, not yet.
No?
We're just, do we have anything?
We did not receive any public comment.
No
So then we
comments.
close it. Then we have to close. public
Okay, so then we will go ahead and close the public hearing
at,
at 6:40.
We'll need a motion to close public hearing.
Okay, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
And we will take a vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Then we have the motion. Move to recommend approval of the request from MEP Lino Lakes LLC approving a conditional use permit for a daycare center at 8565 Eagle Point Circle based on the findings of fact and conditions presented in the staff report.
I will second that.
Second. And do we have any other further comments, discussions, anything to add to that? Okay, we'll take a vote then. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. And those opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. This will go before the city council on April 14th?
April 15th.
April 15th, thank you.
Tax day.
Okay, so then,
They can leave if they want to.
okay, do you want to stick around? You can, otherwise. Okay, we'll move on to the next order of business then. Unfinished business for the Animal Inn conditional use permit and variance extension request. We have
All
staff.
right, thank you. I don't have a formal presentation for you tonight. Animal Inn, City Council approved a resolution 2014-044 and 2024-043 on April 16th, 2024. This was for a variance and a conditional use permit amendment for the Animal Inn facility. The city ordinance requires substantial construction within 12 months of the date of the approval of the CUP and the variance. The applicants are making progress towards these conditions of approval, but they will not reach that substantial construction deadline of April 16th, 2025. So the applicants have submitted an extension request for a 24-month extension. This extension would allow the small business additional time to prepare for project expenses and create a water connection plan with contractors. So Planning Commission will need to make a recommendation on this extension to City Council. And I can stand for any questions that you may have.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for city staff?
I just have a comment. Should that be Resolution 2024-004 and 2024-043?
It should be, but the actual resolution is 2014. So I think there was just a typo by the clerks.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so,
So just, the 24-month extension, is there work in that period, or is most of that planning, what's going to be
In that,
the
so.
status of the property there during most of that time period?
Yeah, the conditions that they need to meet before they can even get a building permit are to connect the buildings to water, so they need to develop plans for that. That needs to get approved by
Okay.
city engineer. And then they need to do a septic test to show that their septic has capacity for the additional demand. Then they can apply for a building permit, then they can start the work. So
Okay. So
24
the
months
building
would
does not-
encompass all of
Yeah,
that.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
all right, anything else? All right.
I'd move to make a recommendation. I'd move to make to recommend approval of extension of the conditional use permit and variance deadline for the Animal Inn prior to April 16th, 2027.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Communication and updates.
I'll have to move back to my agenda here. All right. In February, there were a handful of planning commission items that were reviewed by city council. The Chavez variances, that was 7 shoreland and slope-related variances, those were denied. Housekeeping zoning text amendment was approved, not including the bed and breakfast language that the planning commission recommended to hold off on. Landscaping zoning text amendment was approved. You guys had your joint session with city council, and the planning commission work plan was also approved. Upcoming meetings, April 14th and April 28th.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? All right. Meeting is adjourned at 6:45.
Moving into
Yeah,
training
we're going to
session.
move into the planning commission training. It's open to the public, and it'll be held in the Lake Elmo City Hall Community Room. Thank you all for attending this evening.